So hi, my name is Swantje Tomalak. Super hard name, you don't need to remember it at all. What's most important is I work for Vegconomist. It's a vegan business magazine. So if you ever need to get some information about the vegan sphere, B2B, you can check that website. We also have a website called Cultivated-X for all the fermentation, cultivated meat news. Maybe you know it. It's always very helpful. We share many news and good news, bad news. There's a lot of things going on, and so I'm really happy to be here on stage today with you. So I want to quickly introduce myself. I was born and raised in Germany. I moved to France almost 15 years ago, and I'm not at all from the same background than you. I worked in event management when I was already 15 or 16, and then after I finished school, I started to study event management, and I focused on events for sustainability, sustainable lifestyle, sustainable textile, cosmetics, and I focused on this market, and quite quickly I also became myself personally more attentive to sustainable living, and after a couple of years from vegetarian to vegan, and here I am. I put all my work into veganism since almost 15 years now. In all this time, I moved to France, to Paris 15 years ago, which made the transition very difficult. It was a bit hard for me as a vegan. So I decided to create a trade show called Veggie World, which opened the doors here in France for the plant-based brands, even though with the pandemic it went a little bit down. However, France is still a difficult market, and when we talk about difficulties, we come to our today's subject, which is the challenges of plant-based food. This being said, as I said, I'm German, and seeing the difference to France regarding plant-based food is quite strong. Why is it like this? You know how it is. It's really cultural. It's a cultural thing. You name it. Now for Christmas, what's on the plate? It's raclette, it's fondue, it's foie gras. It's all so like really meat and dairy intended, all the plates, and it's since years, and it's so hard for plant-based alternatives to come to this market compared to Germany. Why is it so different in Germany or in the Netherlands or in the UK? Because it doesn't have the same meaning. Food is not the culture. They're not so proud on it. They're easygoing. They're more like, okay, we would like to try something because it's good, it's cheap, I try it. For the French, it's rather, okay, it has an AOP labeling, like 50 cheese sorts, I guess, are labeled here in France. And so you're like, okay, it should be coming from this region or from that region. And now come up with a plant-based cheese. There is literally no chance for this kind of poor plant-based cheese. So there is a strong cultural challenge where I do not see how AI can change it, but maybe you will find a solution. However, if you develop a product, a plant-based product or a hybrid product, think about where you want to launch it. If you want to launch it in France, just keep in mind it's a very difficult market. If you go somewhere else, there will be other challenges. I will come to them in my next point. When we talk about Germany, Germany is quite well known for being very open-minded regarding vegans. We have almost 2 million. In France, there are not even some statistics about how many vegan people we are. And so, yeah, I found a nice word saying, in France, food is poetry, in Germany, it's logistics. So here we are. Coming to this, price parity is a very important point. Why is it like this? Do you know HtF? The brand, yes. You know Knacki, the sausages, right? They're quite famous. So if you watch online or in the supermarket, next time you go there, you see that the price for example, 10 HtF Knacki sausages, meat version, the price is, I made a quick check this morning, €3.22. Now, next to it, the plant-based version. It's €1.20 more. For this kind of quantity and amount, it's huge. It's huge. Why is it like this? Once again, in France, unfortunately, the lobbyists, or well, the meat companies and dairy companies, they get a lot of subsidies for feeding the animals, okay? So they can have a huge price advantage regarding, because they have a mass production going on, regarding the small plant-based production. So this market is very hard, once again, especially in France. In Germany, we do not have the same kind of working, ecological-wise and environmental-wise. I just want to give you a quick reminder because, as I said, I'm from the vegan sphere. I'm from somewhere else. I'm not from the food tech. So I'm also an activist. And coming back to the HtF sausages, I took out some numbers. So HtF sells around 19 million sausages a week. This is equal to around about 13,500 pigs per week. Just to illustrate the scale, okay? And if you know from the regulation in Europe, when the pigs, they need to be around 6 months old to be slaughtered. In these 6 months, they live on not even 1 square meter. 3 months of mass feeding, then 3 months of growing, then they are slaughtered and they are brought to the market. This is a very, very, very hard number to digest when you hear the price for the sausage is €1 cheaper than for plant-based alternatives. Why I'm saying this? It's because people are not watching anymore where the food is coming from. They watch the price. So that's why it's a very important point, price parity. Bring plant-based products to have the same price than meat or dairy products. I think that AI can actively plan production more efficiently, meaning less waste, lower unit costs, and accelerate also the sales of plant-based products. At the end, consumers, they watch their wallet, and unfortunately nowadays, meat and dairy is still the cheaper option, and that's something we have to really change in the future. Talking about animal welfare, it's also the motivation. So that's the third challenge we have. The first one was culture, the second was price. The third challenge is the motivation. Why is it a challenge? Because the motivation of why people choose a plant-based diet changed in the past years. In 20 years ago, the main reason why consumers adopted a plant-based diet was for the animals, the animal welfare, animal rights, a lot of activisms going on the street, defending the animals. Nowadays, 20 years later, most consumers, if you ask them, around 80–90% choose a plant-based diet because of health reasons, because of their own personal health issue, not because of the animals. Some also change it because of environment, but honestly, if you're in the supermarket and then you see a product, you watch it and maybe it's written climate friendly, but at the end you say, it's a good price, it tastes good, I will buy it. But nowadays, consumers choose plant-based diet actually because of the health reasons. Why is it like this? So social media came up, a lot of society illnesses. We know nowadays that dairy meat can reduce those illnesses. So consumers start to change their habits. They choose more plant-based. However, many are very unsatisfied about the plant-based alternatives, right? So here we come basically to the next point, which means taste, texture, and culinary expectations. Once again, if you build a plant-based product, if it's about ingredients, I will come to this point in another challenge. We talk about health reasons, but plant-based diet doesn't mean necessarily it's healthy for you. If you want to change and you want to reduce meat and dairy, fine. But if you just take vegan Nutella, Oreo cookies, or any other thing, fast food, a vegan burger, it won't have the same outcome as you wish to have for your personal health. So there is a huge but fine difference between plant-based diet for health reasons, but also having plant-based and healthy diet, okay? So keep this in mind. Whatever product you develop, especially to have the right tasting for meat alternatives or dairy alternatives, we add so much ingredients, fat, oils, isolates, and so on and so on. It's ultra high processed. You don't want this on your plate. It's not good, it's not healthy. But once again, that's another challenge. So, Talking about this, so I said that the first challenge was culture, price. We had the motivation or the reason why, and now it comes to taste, texture, and culinary expectations. I guess you all had lunch here, right? So you all had some plant-based food. Euro I saw, La Vie. I hope you liked it. Yes, I see thumbs up. Or this, this, yes. Okay, so this is good because it's good products. You choose very good products. It's one of the best alternatives existing on the market. However, a couple of years ago, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Consumers, they trade plant-based alternatives and they were really not happy about it. They didn't like it, it didn't taste, like there was nothing look-alike meat or dairy. So they stopped it and they never really tried it again, and that's really a pity because nowadays we have much more solutions, even though the French market, once again about the cultural topic, stays very close. So that means a lot of companies from the UK or from America or from Germany can't enter the French market because they do not want it. The government stops it. Beyond Meat tried it. They leave the market. Now there's La Vie. They want to have French brands on the market. So online, Amazon, you will find it. But once again, it's a very closed market, which is a pity because there are so many good alternatives everywhere around the world. And I tried once to help a brand, a French brand, Camembert brand, to go to the German market, and they really loved the product because for them it was French, it was Camembert, it was plant-based, it was a great alternative. At the end, there was an issue about pricing because Germany, you know, they need to have it cheap, and it was really not cheap at that time. However, when we talk about taste, texture, and culinary expectations, it can be a challenge because many plant-based products are actually when we talk about meat or dairy, they're using soy or pea because it has the less strong taste, you know. When you have almond or coconut, it's a very strong taste. You can't always use it for all the alternatives. And unfortunately, if you just have soy and pea in your plant-based products, you are very limited regarding taste and texture. You need to add things. Coming back again to some substitutes like isolates, salt, sugar, fat oil, ultra highly processed, which is not good. At the end, it tastes great, but you do not have this healthy product like you would like to have. So talking about fat structuring, shear cell technology, and fermentation are improving things rapidly. That's the next point. I will come to this because we have solutions on the market to improve everything regarding plant-based products. And I think that AI models can predict how fats, proteins, and fibers interact to optimize melt, sizzle, and stretch. Talking about raclette and fondue, right? Okay, and so alternative proteins. I mentioned soy, pea, coconut, almond, and so on. But there is way more in the market. Coming to point 5, challenge number 5, alternative proteins, innovations, hybrid products. I saw a lot of great mentors today here, Gourmet, Nutropie, you know everything about precision fermentation, about cultivated meat, more or less. I won't test you on this. However, it's solutions which are existing rapidly. It's a fast-moving environment. If you go to the US, Singapore, Japan, where have been else, Korea, high-tech, cultivated meat, still in some countries not at all legalized. I had a tasting actually. I tried cultivated meat. It was chicken. And I'm a vegan, okay? I couldn't even say it was tasting like meat. It was meat. It was produced by taking some cells from the chicken egg. It was given to the laboratory. It was fed with fats and other nutrients. And it became chicken. And we tried it. There was media, there was press. It was amazing. It was just really great. However, not legal in Europe, okay? So we are still at the very beginning for this. You need to go somewhere else in other countries where it's legalized. However, much more chances with precision fermentation. Fermentation is something which is known since thousands of years. You know it from kimchi when you go to Asia. You know it Well, beer, German beer, you know. you add the yeast, you have fermentation, you have the German beer. Prost, and then let's go on. So it's easier for consumers to understand, to have a fermented product. However, once again, a little challenge, it needs a lot of investment because there's absolutely no mass production for fermentation. At the moment, investors are, how can I say, they are very interested, but they lower and they are more skeptical because they need to see quick results. But you can't have quick results in this industry at the moment. It needs a little bit more time. When you tell them, okay, I invest, I don't know how much money, and you see the first results in 10 years, it's too slow for them. We need to accelerate the process. We need to accelerate everything regarding plant-based or hybrid products. Hybrid products actually can be cultivated meat and classical meat. It can be also plant-based and meat. You will find some, on one trade show, for example, there was Beyond Meat, and Beyond Meat made a collaboration together with an Angus burger, a real Angus burger. They increased the plant-based part and they lowered the meat part to have a better product. Can be a solution also as a hybrid product. We're not talking always about cultivated and plant-based or something else. So just to give you this as an idea, as another challenge, because I talked to someone recently, because last week with Natalie from Nutropie, we already had an intervention at an event in Paris, which was called FIE, Food Ingredients Europe. It was all about ingredients. We were talking about fermentation and plant-based dairy. So I told someone in the train about what I do, and he knew fermentation, and I told him, yeah, there is a solution. You can have casein, milk, protein, exactly like milk, but it's not from the cows. And he's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. And I'm like, would you try it? Oh, I don't think so. It's coming from the laboratory. No, I don't think so. Okay, once again, there is this challenge. How do you want to then educate the consumer and convince the consumer to try this new product? Once again, we are in France, and I think the barrier of communication and education towards more innovative and new products is quite difficult. There was a nice wording saying, we can now make milk without cows, but can we convince people to drink it? So that's a challenge. I do not have a solution for this. Maybe you will figure it out. I think AI is the R&D assistant, actually, every food scientist dream of. So I hope you will find some solutions for this issue. Another way of educating and informing consumers about new products is, of course, labeling, clear label. You already know the V label, probably, which is for vegetarian and vegan products. The same company behind V label now also implemented the F label for fermented products and the C label for cultivated products. So it's very interesting because this means it gives a first chance for those products to get actually on the market and label the product so it's visible for the consumer. Maybe at first they do not know it, but there is a lot of dialogue going on. They go on conferences, they go on trade shows, they try to talk to the B2B industry leaders to make decisions to move forward this business. So it's quite important because already with plant-based products, probably you have heard about it. There was a huge issue going on, let's say it like this. Lobbies, once again, they said, you can't call plant-based meat meat. You can't call it a steak, you can't call it a sausage, you can't call it milk. It has to be called differently. Also, once again, it was a debate going on here in France. And so, finally, it didn't work out. So, still, we are allowed to call it a sausage and a meat patty or whatever. But so starting by naming and labeling and regulation, you have to be very careful of what you bring on the market, how you name it, how you get the certification for it. This is a very strong issue because it's political, it's government, it's not in our hands. AI can't change the law, that's for sure. But it's something we have to really pay attention to. So, coming to the last challenge, If you remember well, I repeat again, it was the culture, price, motivation, taste, texture, alternative proteins and innovations, labels and regulations, and now it's the adaptation, image and market access. It can be basically spread in 3 different challenges. Why do I want to mention this? In Germany, we have big discounters, Aldi, Lidl. They already reached the French market, but they have another positioning in Germany. They are much stronger because they have a good and high quality for a very fair and low price. What do? They have their own private label, so that means private label, they get products from a brand, which is probably known. I give you an example. La Vie would, for example, sell the bacon to Aldi, and Aldi just takes the package and puts its own Aldi brand on it. That's private label. So this is already existing in mass production, and it's working quite well for those discounters. So they can offer plant-based food for really a low price. It's fantastic. It's a market adaptation. And some of those companies and discounters and wholesalers, they push plant-based food in their shelves, which is amazing to see. Veganuary, starting in January, you will see in Germany shelves being green colored, and you see the vegan dairy, you see the vegan meat. Amazing. You come to France, you're searching in the supermarket, where can I find those plant-based alternatives? And then suddenly we see one sausage somewhere, and you're not even sure if it's really vegan or if it's just vegetarian, because it's just not the same approach, which is really a pity. Sometimes you need to find vegan products in supermarkets, and it's very long. Why is it like this? Well, France's retail landscape is quite conservative regarding this, I must say. And in Germany, once again, it's a little bit more open-minded. What I really love in France is that you have your rayon de produits locaux, which means you have your local products. This is, for example, we do not have in Germany, and I appreciate it so much. It's something really nice. You can get milk or honey or whatever from the region. And I do not want to push this away at all, but I think you should also give it a chance for plant-based alternatives in the supermarkets, which is really important. And beyond supermarkets, there is the entire chain of gastronomy, hotellery, tourism. They should all integrate at least a vegan option. We are far from this. Public canteens, school, hospitals. I was in hospital, I don't remember, a year ago, and they brought me my vegetarian meal. It had an etiquette saying vegetarian, and it was a big chicken wing. And I asked them, but this is not a vegan chicken wing or like a vegetarian. No, well, it is vegetarian, it's a chicken. And I watched them, the infirmière, the nurse, and I couldn't believe what was going on. I published it even on LinkedIn. That's my militant part, I must say. However, what I want to say is we are still far from understanding what's vegetarian, what's vegan, what's plant-based, and then to integrate it into the entire chain, not only in supermarkets for end consumers, but also in gastronomy, hotellery. Think about flights, airlines, tourism, everywhere, that you have one vegan option, which is very important. Okay, now, if you have those menus in restaurants or whatever, here in Paris, you find always a solution, I think. Go out of Paris, it's a disaster. We organized Veggie World, this trade fair, somewhere in other parts in France, and that's a pity. Once again, in France, everything is very much focused and concentrated to Paris and the Paris region, and that's really a pity because it's very hard for others to find solutions and plant-based. So there is really a strong challenge in all kind of things, and I think I could go even further, but I also have to watch my timing. It's just not a food challenge, all in all. It's a taste challenge. We need better flavor, better science, better economics, and so on. And I put down all those things, and I asked my personal assistant to make me a summary. My personal assistant is called ChatGPT. ChatGPT wrote, plant-based food doesn't just need new recipes. It needs new intelligence. We're facing cultural habits, price gaps, regulatory puzzles, and the eternal question of taste, and none of that changes fast enough with old tools. But AI gives us a shortcut. It helps us understand consumers better, redesign ingredients faster, predict what will work in each market, and cut the cost of innovation. If we use it well, we can build food that's sustainable and irresistible. So this weekend, don't just code an app, shape a food system people will genuinely want to eat. That's where the real impact is. Thank you very much. You see my German roots, huh? 30 minutes, no, 25 minutes, 5 minutes time for Q&A. Anyone has a question, you can say also, you can ask me in français ou auf Deutsch, egal.
Thank you for your time. It's an excellent presentation. I was curious, in Germany, are the prices cheaper? Is like a smaller difference in the price between the vegan alternatives and the non-vegan alternatives, or is it about the same?
German government claimed a law for price parity. That means plant-based products shouldn't be more expensive than classical dairy or meat products. It's given by the law. Yeah. And very often they push plant-based alternatives, so they put them higher in the shelf, that it's more visible, that it's in the height of the buyer's size, approximately. There was, yeah.
Thank you very much for the awesome presentation, in my opinion. I had a question. You mentioned that health should be something we look for when we develop innovations regarding plant-based. Is it not interesting to develop like the taste more than the health? Because some, like, when you look at KFC, for example, or Burger King or stuff like that, they have, in my opinion, a huge role in democratizing more plant-based diet, even though it's not like very healthy food. So could you advise maybe people on how to use innovation so that we can democratize, spread more plant-based diet?
Yeah, I understand your question. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I mentioned it regarding health in the first line, because that's why many people change actually to a plant-based diet. Talking about the taste, it's indeed the first barrier. They would like to try a product, they see it in the supermarket, they will try it, and when the taste isn't good, they wouldn't buy it again, if it's healthy or not. So it should be indeed the first approach, that the taste is good. There are many products already which are fulfilling this, and more producers are watching also to give more functional food on the market. It's a big trend for 2026 to have functional food. Well, it's called trend, actually it's like existing since thousands of years, I guess, because even earlier at that time, you know, it was people, they didn't have, for example, fresh vegetables. Now we have access all year long. We can have ananas, no, it's pineapple, in winter, because it's like we have it accessible, so we get our vitamin C. However, functional food, and that's very often with plant-based, they would like to add vitamin B12, omega-3, because that's actually what's missing in those plant-based products very often, and you need to supplement it. So they try to put like this into the food, and then once again, to make it happen, to make it stable, to make it not too liquid or too hard, the texture, they need to add fat, or they need to reduce, and so they add sugar, salt. And then once again, it comes to this ultra highly processed, where I'm not sure if, of course, taste is very important, but at the end, if it's not really a healthy product, you need to see the mainstream. If you talk to the mainstream, to the flexitarians or to the vegetarians, I think that's the perfect solution. If you watch for those ones, it's different target groups actually. And I think that the mainstream and largest target group to talk to is actually the taste group. So talking about Domino's or Domino's Pizza, I mean, or these kind of chains, or Burger King, if they add it, that's great, that's perfect. And no one is watching the ingredients list there. Like, they don't care. So I totally agree, it should be tasted first for this large mainstream to make it more common. But yeah, there's this tiny group of really health, yes. Okay. Any other question? Yes.
By the way, we have a working mic now, another one.
Oh!
So yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question. Since you have such experience in the field, what were initiatives that, for you, that you saw stroke a lot of change in the people switching from eating meat into going vegan or vegetarian?
You mean what they brought to change their diet?
If you have any ideas or recollections of any initiatives that really changed people's beliefs and behavior regarding what they eat.
I think that, frankly spoken, here in France, Elders and 14, which is a quite big association, did a lot of great work to put some more visibility on the life conditions of animals. With very often famous comedians or speakers, they open up the video and so you are like, okay, I will have a look, and then you're really shocked because what you see is the truth. That's what's happening behind every plate. What was the name? Is it Moby, I guess? He was, or someone else was saying if slaughterhouses would have glass walls, no one would eat meat anymore. And I think seeing this image is making it easier to become vegan or change to a plant-based diet. There are some studies, not in France, I guess it was not included, but it was from the Netherlands, Germany, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, Switzerland and Austria, basically the DACH German-speaking market. They say that way more women choose a plant-based diet because they're already paying more attention to how they eat, and they're very often more at home, and so they can cook themselves and they're not obliged to go somewhere outside. So there's a tendency also that women are more often choosing a plant-based diet. However, I think the biggest motivation is like when you see those, if it's for animal reasons, it's because you see those videos. If it's for completely the plant-based diet, it's actually really the food. That's your medicine. That's my my quote of the day. It's like what you eat is your medicine of your body, of your whole life. And yeah, maybe others have others opinions. That's maybe also like everyone sees it differently, probably. Anyone else? A question? Yes. Ah, tu vas? Ok, merci.
So I want to ask, how can AI bring new innovations to the table? Since in my opinion, since ChatGPT is the personal assistant of everyone, I think he's already doing the job. Like, if we want to look for vegan products, from my dorm, I can ask him where can I find vegan sausage, for example. And if I want to find any information about any product in the supermarket, I can easily take a picture and ChatGPT is giving us, like, people don't care about the ingredient lists and most of them don't know what are the additives, what are the numbers there. So we are all relying on ChatGPT and we are already using it to know more about vegan products. So is it really about AI innovations or more about marketing? Like, since you said like maybe one influencer will open the live video and he will say something about a vegan product and everyone will use it. So that's my question, like how innovations in AI can bring like a better image for the vegan or vegetarian products nowadays.
Yeah, indeed. I think there are synergies between AI and marketing. You say we all use ChatGPT. Maybe that's true for this room, but go in the industry. They sometimes need months just to have one tool accepted inside big companies. So coming to AI, they need to have requests. It should be like signed by the law, by some internal lawyer and so on. It's super complicated sometimes for big companies to integrate AI tools in their company. We need to count on this young generation to make it more. Here's a huge generation gap. I don't know how old you're, all around 20, I'm 40. So next to me there's the 60 years generation. They have nothing to do with AI. There's so much work to do, and I think yes, AI can help in so many ways, but it has to be integrated way larger, like in a really large field everywhere in all different kind of industries. It can help so much. We talk about plant-based food, but it's also for all the others. And so I believe that there is a big chance, but we need someone who knows how to handle AI, and that's the generation we are counting on, right? Yeah. Any other question? Yes. Merci.
Thank you very much for your presentation and all the things you said that made me learn a lot of things. I'm very curious about the F and the C labels you talked about. Is it already used? Is it on some packaging? In which countries? And what is the impact on customer acceptance with that?
It's a good question. We are not that far. When I say we, is because I am in close contact to the Switzer company. It's belonging to the V label. They have launched it a couple of months ago. Due to the launch, they have received a lot of feedback from cultivated meat companies saying, okay, in your rules to get this certification, it's written no animal is harmed. However, for example, one company, Blue, very famous in Germany, they're doing salmon alternatives. All the salmons they took, when they took out the cells, the salmon died. That's a pity. It was for the science. However, they can't get this label actually because they are not so far in their scientific approach to let the animal live because they couldn't make it. And so the V label, the company behind, they are still in the development process. So what they did, they were that's what I said, they were going to conferences and trade shows, they were searching the dialogue with the companies to make this idea of C label and F label become real. And at the moment, that's the thing. So 2 companies already got this label. That was the work of the last months, and I really hope that for the next months it will get a little bit stronger. However, not much here in Europe. It's a little bit more wider. We talk about the US and the other countries, as I mentioned. And then we really hope that it's helping the consumer to understand better and to find easier what's in the shelf. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you so much once again for your attention, for being here, and thanks for everything you will hopefully do in the future. Thank you.